Hello people, today we're going to be doing a set of these press-ons which I'm calling Woodstock Revisited. And I'm going to start off with some medium length oval tips or nails that I have pre-etched and buffed and all that good stuff to get them prepped. We're going with all Beatles products today. And that color is number 220. This is one of the ones from their, I just got a set of their fall, a small set of their fall colors. And this was one of those. And then we'll be using number 865. And I know what you're thinking, because I was thinking the same thing. Those colors do not really go together. But we're going to be using nail foils, and I pulled those colors directly from the foils. So they looked okay on there. So I think they turned out okay at the end. But I'm going to be doing 2 coats of these. Checking underneath to make sure I didn't slop any underneath there, and then we'll just clean it off with some alcohol on the cleanup brush. And I'll be curing those for 1 minute and then putting a second coat on. I finally sat and watched back one of my tutorials the other day just for the heck of it, and I realized there was a noise going on in the background that I think was the ceiling fan. So today I'm having all the fans off in here, and I can already feel the sweat running down my sides. But anyway, hopefully that'll solve that noise issue. And there was a hair on there as usual. Okay, I'll be curing these the second time through. I'm going to cure them for 90 seconds just to be doubly sure they're cured. And they have been now. So now I'm going to use Mccart's nail foil glue. I found, of the ones I've tried, this is the best one I've found so far. Now, when I put this on here, I put it on way too thick, and I ended up getting wrinkles in it on the edges. So be careful. You don't really need a whole lot. I haven't done foils in a while, so I kind of forgot what I was doing with it, but definitely do not put it on real thick. Now, I will fix the wrinkle issue off camera so you don't see that, but I'll tell you as we're going along what I did. Sometimes it's a trick that sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. So that's why I didn't film it in case it didn't work. Okay, now I've cured that for 1.5 minutes. And now we're going to be ready to put the foils on here. There's the foil we're working with. Now normally I would cut off a whole piece and just use these in little pieces, but I wasn't totally sure how much that was going to cover onto the nail. And secondly, I wanted to use those little designs on the side, so I didn't want to be cutting anything off yet till I figured out exactly what I was going to do. Now you want to be very careful when you're make sure you have it lined up exactly where you want it before it touches that nail, because once it touches the nail, there's no room for error. That's it. And you'll see I made that mistake on the little nail, on the pinky nail. When we get that far, you'll see. And I'm just going to use a silicone tool to smooth out the wrinkles, and now I've decided, now I can tell exactly where I need to cut. So I'm going to be using these old crappy nail scissors that don't cut worth a darn. I really need to get me a new pair of little nail scissors. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to finish smoothing it on. Now, a lot of people seem to have problems with the foils. I haven't had any major issues so far. If you were going to be covering this with a foil that's like a metallic, you know, that actually looks like foil, it's shiny, I know that sometimes I have had a little bit of problem with that, but if you just stick it back on there, you could usually fill in the gaps with those. Since there's not a design or a pattern to it, you can get away with it for that. But something like this, you want to make sure you get it smooth and rubbed on there really well before you take it off. And I see a lot of people with foils, they yank them off real quick. I don't like to do that because in case the whole design did not transfer and I need to lay it back down on there, I like to slowly peel it up and look at what's under there, where it transferred. And then if there's any that didn't transfer, I can just lay it back down without having to worry about lining it up. Okay, now I'm trying to smooth out the wrinkles with the tool, silicone tool. You have to press kind of hard with it, which is the reason I'm holding on to it with my other hand there. I also will use the end of my fingernail usually and just go over the whole thing and rub it really good just to give it a real, make sure it's really on there. And as with the way I do everything else, I like to overdo. So I give it a lot more rubbing on there and a lot more smoothing down than it probably really needs. But I just like to make doubly sure that the stuff is on there because I really hate having to do stuff over twice or 3 times because I screwed it up. Although it does happen, unfortunately. Okay, and then I'm just going to gently take it off, and there you go. Now I think there was a little piece that was sticking up, though I didn't press down tight, probably where one of the wrinkles was. You can kind of sort of see it there. I'm going to just take the silicone tool and just dab it back down so it will stick on there. And there's the thumbnail done. Now this one coming up, if you look at the edge of it, when I get it on there, you'll see wrinkles along the edge. A little bit, see them there? That's because the foil glue was too thick. Okay, now on this one, I'm only going to use part of the design, so we're going to cut off everything we don't want on there. Well, this part can get a little bit fussy because you got to make sure you cut off every little piece of stuff you don't want to transfer. Otherwise, it's going to get on there and then you won't be able to get it back off again. But you can't really see them, but there was a bunch of little white dots along the edge of there that I did not want on there, so I have to go back and get all those off. So it can take a little bit of time. I don't know if you can hear him, but one of my cats is sitting right outside my nail door meowing like crazy. He wants in. And they're not allowed in here, so I don't know why he thinks he's coming in here. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, now we're ready to put this one on. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, after your foil glue has cured, let it sit for about a minute and cool off a little before you start putting foils on there. It seems to work a little better that way. Now, I've seen some people with the foil glue that'll take an alcohol wipe it off and then stick their foils on, but to me that seems kind of counterproductive because it seems like you're going to get a lot of the tackiness off that way. And I don't do it that way, and it works fine for me. So I kind of go with the if it ain't broke, don't fix it philosophy. Now what I'm going to do, which you're not going to see on camera, is I'm going to try to fix those wrinkles. I'm going to take some glossy top coat, gel top coat, and I'm going to put a layer of that on after the foils are on there. A lot of times if your wrinkling's not real bad, that will fix the problem. I'm not really sure if it's just filling in the grooves and smoothing, making it look smooth, leveling it out, or if it's softening it again somehow and smoothing it. I don't know, but a lot of times that will work if they're not really badly wrinkled. Now I'm just going over it with the edge of my fingernail just to make sure it's transferred on there really well. Cat is making me crazy right now. Usually they only do that when it's close to feeding time, and it's not anywhere near there yet. Okay, well, once I get this all smoothed down, I'm going to take that off, and there you go. There is the index finger. I can see a couple little spots sticking up. I think I had to smooth down with the tool again. Yep. You want to make sure you get it all flattened out really well before you're going to be putting any top coat or anything else on top of there. Because you don't want it to end up having, looking like it has bubbles in there. Okay, then we're going to move on to the pinky. Now here's where I messed up. Once I get the little design cut out, I accidentally touched it on there before I was ready, and then it made a little stripe of, I made a little stripe of the design on there that not where I wanted it. So I had to do it again, re-foil glue on it, and then cure that, and then do it again. But there's like no room for error with the foils. That's the only thing. Like with stickers or decals, you can always peel them back up and re-stick them down if you don't get them placed right. But you don't get to do that with the foils. As soon as, like I said, as soon as they touch it, it's going to start to stick on there. And when you're cutting out smaller designs like this one, try to leave yourself at least a little piece of area on the foil that you can use to grab it. Okay, now if you can see, there's a little tiny piece on the edge I'm hanging on to, and this is partly why it went wrong. So I'm trying to deal with these gloves, and that at the same time it did not go. Now see there, I touched it and it's crooked. Like now it's like, oh man. So now I gotta get it back off, and the middle's gonna be stuck. See that line down the middle? Okay, now I've re-foil glued it. We're gonna try it again. I tried to buff the line off before I put the foil glue, but it didn't totally come off. So now I'm going to get this positioned properly. And boop, there we go. Now we're just going to smooth it down. Because if I had used those tweezers to hold it in the first place, instead of trying to hold it with these big glovey hands, it would have probably not gotten on there wrong. Oh well. Okay, now once I get this on here and take the film off of there, that's when I ended up putting on the glossy top coat just over those, partly to seal them in and partly to fix the wrinkles that were on there. But if you didn't have any problems, you could skip the top coat over the foils and just go with your regular top coat, whatever you're going to use whenever you're ready, when you're putting it on. But I wanted to make sure I got that straightened out in case they didn't get fixed well enough. I was going to have to redo those. So in order to avoid extra work of redoing them over again, I just went with that plan. Okay, this one I'm rubbing on there a bit excessively. I really don't think it needed that much, but and there it is. And the next step for these is going to be Oh, we're not there yet. Getting ahead of myself. Can be a little bit fussy working with these foils, but I mean, once you've done a couple of them, you know, you've used a few of them, then you get the hang of it. I will say though, if you're not the best at doing hand painting and you like the intricate designs, nail foils and stamping is the way to go. It's a time lifesaver. Okay, now I am going to put the top coat on of the matte top coat. I'm going to seal all those in. This was kind of a fun set to do, although it's not totally my cup of tea, but they didn't give me too much trouble. Which is kind of unusual anyway. I usually end up having a lot of trouble with some part of a design that I get very aggravated and frustrated with, but this set wasn't too bad. Once I get this on there, I'm going to cure this for 90 seconds. And then we're going to move on to the flower embellishments. Okay, I've got this little acrylic mold, and I'm going to be using the same two colors of polish that we used for the nails. Now, I like doing these in polish because they're flexible when they come out and you can bend them so they fit on the nail, whereas if you do them with acrylic, you can't really do that. They're just hard and they're parts of them end up sticking up. Okay, I'm going to take the blue or green, teal, whatever it is, and I'm going to just put this in the dot that's in the center of each flower. And once again, just using an old brush. This is the same brush that I use for a lot of putting on caviar beads and a lot of stuff like that. So it's kind of like gluey and stiff on the end. So it kind of works good for these kind of little tiny things when you got to get in there. And once I get these in there, I'm going to give that a flash cure for 30 seconds. And you can get these molds. They come in all different kinds of stuff on Amazon or AliExpress, which I believe is where mine came from. Not sure. I got a big batch of these at one point from my daughter as a gift, so I'm not sure where she got them, but I've gotten some since then off of either of those two places. Okay, now I'm going to just take the red and I am going to put it in there on top of the other stuff, and I'm going to work it into all of the corners and the little edges. This part gets a little fussy too, and it could take you a little bit. This particular mold I hadn't used before, so I was not sure how it was going to come out. It's got like little lines that you'll see them poking through there where it looks like there's no polish. But when they come out, you'll see they have like hollow places on there, like little cutouts, which I didn't know it was going to have. So I kept trying to fill those over, but they seem to keep popping back out. I've sped this up a little bit because it does take me a while to sit and do all these. Now once I get this whole thing done, I'm going to put it in the lamp. Just going to lay it in there. I'm going to cure it for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to flip it over on its back and give it another 1 minute cure just to make sure that the polish underneath, which will end up being the top of the flowers, is fully cured. especially with this red because it's really dark and I didn't know how well it was going to cure in there. Also, once I get this whole mold filled and cured and they're done, then I'm going to redo the whole thing over again, but I'm going to reverse the colors. So they'll have the red dot in the center and then the teal color will be the flower. Oh, for Pete's sakes, the cat is back again. I don't know why he wants in here so bad. He's not allowed in here. They never come in here. Now all of a sudden he wants to be in here. Well, it just dawned on me. Maybe I do know why. Because I'm growing catnip in here on the windowsill, and it's been smelling a lot stronger lately than it was, as it's starting to get flowers. That could be why he's pestering to be in here. Decided to take a stab at growing catnip for my cats. And this is the only place I could put them where they're not allowed to go, where they're not going to get demolished. And I can't put any outside because there's outside neighborhood cats that roam around and they'll just destroy them real quickly. And once I get all these in here too, I'm going to clean my brush with alcohol, and then I'm going to just take the brush and I'm going to go along the edges of those and kind of try to scoop it back in. You know, any overflow I'm going to scoop back into the mold, because what you don't want is any bits hanging over, because if you do have any, then you have to try to hold on to that tiny little flower and take a little scissors and try to cut those excess bits off, and it's a real pain in the butt. So if you just be a little neater when you're putting them in and just spend the time to clean those up, make sure you don't have any stuff hanging over, it'll save you a lot of extra work in the long run. And of course there's a hair again. Alright, these are about ready to go in, I think. Or not. Alright, now they're going in. Okay, now they've cured, like I told you, for 2 minutes on this side and then flipped over and 1 minute on the other side. Now we're just going to pop them right out of there, and there we go. Besides the fact that they're still bendable and flexible, another reason I like using the gel polish is because you can get an exact color match to whatever polish you've used in your embellishments. And they're real easy they just pop right out of there. And the last one. Okay. And then, like I said, I did the reverse colors, and there they are. Now we have the teal and the others, and now we're ready to put them on the nails. Okay, now this first one I decided to use, I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to try these on. First thing I'm going to do is try to bend this a little bit because I want it not to be sticking up so much. Oh, for Pete's sakes, he's back again. And then I'm just going to try the placement on here because I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with them. Once I figure out where I'm going to put them, Then I'm going to be using the Rhinestone Glue to put them on there. I was a little dubious about using that because being that these are opaque, I didn't know that it was going to cure underneath, but it seemed to cure really well. I don't know how it's doing that, but I'm happy with it. Okay, now I've decided where they're going to go, so I'm going to take those guys back off, and then we're going to get the glue on there. I'm just pressing that down to get a curve in it again. This is the Rhinestone Glue I've been using the last couple of times, and I'm very happy with it. I'm just going to pick up a little bit with the dotting tool. I'm going to put it on there. I used kind of a lot on this one because this is a bigger flower, and I wanted it to kind of squish around under the flower once I got it on there. And I'm just going to use my tweezers to press it down into there and position it where I want it. And now I'm going to hold down the edges a little bit as soon as I can get a grip on it, just to get it curved down into the glue. And I'm going to go in there and get the other flowers on. A little bit more glue. Okay, the last one I'm going to go on there. As soon as I get them positioned how I want, I'm going to put them in the lamp and give them a 2-minute cure, just to make sure they're on there really, really good and cured well. Now moving on to the teal one. This time I'll be using the red flowers. So I'm sitting here quietly watching this. I'm hearing my computer making a slight noise too. So I'm wondering if maybe that's the noise I was hearing on the video. We'll have to see, since the fan is off, if I get a noise this time or not. Because I really could sure use that fan on about now. It's supposed to be 102 today, which is not as bad as we have had. And I don't know if it was earlier this year. I think it might have been last summer. We had a couple of days where it was around 115. And I did not like it. Okay, once I'm done moving those around and getting where I want them, I'm going to give that one a cure. and then we'll move on. Okay, there's the first one back out. Okay, now I'm going to move on to putting caviar beads on here. I just happened to have some caviar beads that were like a burgundy red, and I thought, hey, that'll go perfect with these. Now, in hindsight, and why I don't do this when I'm working on the thing, I don't know. But once you get the glue on there, you really can just take the caviar beads and pour them over the top and let them stick in the glue, and then you can manipulate them a little bit before you cure. I don't know why I didn't do that again. It's so much faster, but once I get the glue on here, then I'm going to start placing those beads just around here. I just kind of wanted them surrounding them a little bit. There really was no rhyme or reason to how I'm putting them on. Oh, for Pete's sake, with that cat, what is he doing? They really never do this unless it's close to when it's time for him to eat, which is not for another like hour and a half. Just as an aside, if anybody's interested in any of my designs for purchase, I have my website, which will be in the description. Pretty much, well, not my own nails that I do, and although I could recreate them onto press-ons. But any of these press-on sets are available for sale on the website. Most of my sets run $35. I think there's a couple that are a little more than that, maybe a couple that are cheaper, but the bulk of them seem to end up at that price. Okay, that one went into cure. Now we move on to this one. I think I got a little carried away with the caviar beads on these. Maybe I didn't need to have quite so many on them. Sometimes I have a little bit of problem with editing. I like to overdo. I think a big part of the problem is I have so much nail stuff that I just want to use it all. And I don't have enough stuff to use it on, so I end up putting way too much on some things. I have a bit of a problem with collecting nail stuff. I've got mass amounts of embellishments and stuff to be used that I buy the stuff because I see it, I like it, and I'll use it at some point. Some of the stuff sits around in here forever before I get around to it. Although on the other hand, if I do come up with a design that I want to do, I usually have everything on hand I need to do it with. I decided to run a little bit of them just down the side of this one. I think I did that on all of them, but on the red nails you can't see them very well. I mean, you can in person, but it doesn't show up so good on camera. And then I had a little bit of trouble getting them to get off of the brush. Now see, if I had just poured those on there like I just told you before to do, then I wouldn't be having these issues. I think the when I did the other two ones on the other for the other hand off camera, I think I did pour them on there. Okay, now we're going to give them their final top coat just on the ones I put the flowers on, because right around the edge of the flowers there was some glue showing, and I don't want that shiny stuff there since this is a matte set. So I'm going to take my matte top coat and I'm going to butt it up just against the edges to cover any glue so there's no shiny places. It doesn't hurt if you go over the caviar beads, but I wouldn't probably put them over the flowery part just because it'll fill in a lot of those grooves and it'll get too thick and it just won't look nice. I don't remember if I showed it or not, but this is the Beetles Matte top coat. And can you believe it? I got a full set with only Beetles products today. That rarely happens for me. And I'm just going to do these other two, and then we'll be good to go. And one more. Okay, and there they are finished. And here's the finished set. If you like them and enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And thank you for watching.